wasn't me,
two
okay?
players.
That wasn't me.
to be fair, with Hanabi, playing Gnar into Caitlyn specifically is extremely hard to pull off.
Well, we'll see what the plan is going to be here. PSG, they have opted to go on blue side this time around, so they will have first pick. AHQ to be on red. And it looks pretty similar to the bans that we saw back in Game 1. No set and no TF being available.
Yeah, and I think the big question we have in regards to that first pick, okay, that's the Zoe ban that Zergoth said he wanted to see, but the big question about that first pick, do we see priority in the jungle, take away something good from Kongyue and get a good priority pick into River's pocket, even though Lee Sin didn't really work out, or do we revisit the AD carry role, take Caitlyn for Unified, that's a very unified champion, or do we just default back to the Ashe? Honestly, it's going to be the Marksman first rotation, but it's a question of which Marksman do we see.
The Caitlyn ban is really interesting. I would have liked to see it from Unified, because of the fact that Unified had a really good game last game, and I think Kaiwing was also playing well. But the Caitlyn ban kind of tells me that they're looking to play through top lane again, rather than, or again, they want to play through more solo. Yeah. They want to play through the solo lanes rather than the bot lane.
Ooh, wait, are we gonna get something new out of River here? Yes, we are. It's gonna get the Lilia getting locked in here for PSG to start things off.
So this was actually banned in the first game. Of course, haven't seen it from River yet because we haven't seen. Well, actually, no, we saw PSG, of course, but both of those games that they won, Ryan was the one playing the Lilia, so had a little bit of experience against that from River, and then there is the most hotly contested top laner between these two players.
Yeah. Well, Ziv seems to really like the Renekton, even first rotating it in this situation. I think it's alright, but it gives PSG the opportunity to pivot into a lot of things. They could pivot into a team fighting composition with the Ornn, or they could look to have a mixed damage profile on top lane and look for heavy counterpick like
Quinn.
the Lucian, like the Jace, like the Quinn.
Yeah. Hanabi loves this Quinn. But I actually think Renekton gets a lot more strength, or rather value, the earlier in draft you pick him, just because he is fairly good into most top laners and does shut out a couple of those melees that do want to try and get some sort of footing in the lane early, even if he is fairly easily counterable now.
Now, we do see, though, with that Renekton lock-in, we are also going to have the Ashe getting locked in for Wako. Now for PSG, are they the ones that are actually going to run the Lucian up in top lane as a counter, or are we going to see that out of Unified?
Keep this as a flex. The Lucian needs to be a flex. I want to see a support pick here, not AD, because the Lucian can flex the 3 roles. The Thresh is good, for example, but it can flex the 3 roles, and it makes a draft for AHQ extremely awkward if they don't know where Lucian is going, because it could always just be a solo lane Lucian with the mixed damage profile they already have with the Lilia. So, it still becomes really awkward. This means lane Lilia.
Or it means Volibear top.
No, I think it's lane Lilia, because I have seen it before. It functions.
Do you run Conqueror or Phase Rush?
BTXL mid laner talked about this once. Hatrix. He said that Lilia functions kind of like a Rallying Soul, where he just constantly shoves in the wave in mid lane and just looks to roam permanently to side and get advantages elsewhere. Especially after 6, when your E is global, you can hit side lanes and you can sleep them before you're there, and you can just follow up with a lot of damage on your laners.
Well, we'll have to see what the plan is going to be. Like we also mentioned, though, Volibear getting locked in, that again could be going to the top lane for Hanabi. It has been done before here in the PCS a couple times. AHQ, though, for Uniboy, not going to have the Zoe this time because it was banned, but opting into the Syndra, so still a lot of upfront burst damage. You do see, though, on AHQ, they're kind of calling right now, they don't expect this Lucian going into the bot lane, so that you're going to go ahead and try and ban out some of the options still available for Unified.
Potentially, this could be a ban on the Kalista top into Renekton as well, and just reading that Volibear's jungle, Lilia could be mid, as we mentioned, functioning secondary Aurelion Soul, as Zergoth did say, and that would mean it's Lucian bot. But yeah, still definitely a lot of options across all 3 flexible roles here.
I want to see a Lee Sin ban here. I think Lee Sin Syndra is something that can definitely punish Lilia or Lucian mid shenanigans, and I would really like to see it banned here to take away a strong early game jungler from Kongyue.
It has been one of his go-to pickups, but instead they opt to get rid of the Olaf. So again, you're not going to have any axes, but there you go. Lee Sin immediately locked in for AHQ.
Right, and if we're PSG here, of course you do take a support. Blind pick Thresh probably going to be the option here. It depends on what you pair it with. Of course, locking in AD carry here alongside that support would mean that we are seeing Lucian mid probably, or top, Lilia in the other solo lane, and Volibear in the jungle. Jhin Thresh, I think, is fine. Thresh would also kind of remedy some of the kind of susceptibility of having the squishy solo laners that you've drafted getting dove. But I also think you could think about just getting a hard disengage support as well.
I want PSG to pivot here and pick the Tahm Kench. It's so good against Ashe, Syndra, and Lee Sin. I want to see a Tahm Kench here. Or a Thresh, but mostly Tahm Kench. I don't like this part because I think it doesn't offer the frontline and disengage that PSG need in this composition, even though it enables the Lucian a bit more because it can roam around. But it's a really risky route to take for PSG.
So Bard actually makes lane phase a living hell for a lot of your more melee supports, and this would also be a good one that can answer his roams. I wanted to see it. I was always happy to see Blitzcrank.
We never usually get Ysera, though, onto a Blitzcrank. Opts into usually something like a Nautilus, beefy front line with an easy engage, and that seems to be the play here. Not to underestimate, though, Kaiwing has had a nasty Bard at times, but now we get to see exactly where everything's going, and it does appear it's going to be Honeybee in the top lane on the Volibear.
So this Lee Sin Syndra core was what PSG chose to run in the previous game, and it's very, very strong at finding picks and forcing fights on their terms.
I dislike the positioning of the champions that PSG has. I would have much preferred to see Lucian top and Lilia mid, but I think either route that they could have taken feels bad into Syndra. But the pressure is definitely on AHQ to make things happen in the early game because their top side is so volatile. It's such a heavy pick top side as well. For AHQ, they want to use the Volibear to shove in the wave and look to pressure the Lee Sin there. But in general, I think the draft is heavily AHQ favored for now.
Well, we'll have to see here. AHQ looking to take hold of this series and try and force match point in Game 3 if they can find a victory here and go up to 0. PSG, on their hand, looking to tie up our series, effectively reset the series to a best of 3 heading into Game 3. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case. Some new picks coming out from PSG. We'll see if it will be enough to turn the tides as we load into the Rift for the second time today.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And a little bit of a different look here for PSG, Briz. It's first time we're going to see River on the Lilia. We're going to see Tank on a Lucian. A bit of a change up here. As even Unified on Jhin. These are all just brand new picks for PSG as far as I believe majority of summer has gone.
Yeah, a little bit concerned for PSG in terms of the identity they've drafted themselves into here, though, because we're so used to seeing them scale up on the Lucian, scale up on Tank, rather, not the Lucian. That is not a play you want to make. Scale up on Tank, scale up on Unified, and yet they've drafted early game champions for their respective positions, and that means the carries have to be proactive early, have to be out of their comfort zone, and really take it to AHQ, blow for blow throughout these early stages of the game.
And we saw back with PSG in the previous game, as well as the tiebreaker game up against AHQ, and heck, some of the Nova games. This isn't a team that likes to play all that aggressive early unless they feel super comfortable into their matchup and they feel like they can absolutely dominate. So we'll see whether or not we're going to actually have that identity change as River's going to go ahead and he starts on his Raptors.
And I think consensus for reading jungle Lilia in pro play at the moment is that when ahead, she is super oppressive, insanely good, can invade pretty much permanently because of priority in any lane. And yet, at the same time, if she's behind, she doesn't really do much of anything. She looks for that invade.
You saw there, though, River just comes on by, steals away the camp, and Kong is going to be a little bit upset there as he uses Smite a little bit early. Nonetheless, though, not going to actually have much else as River goes back into his jungle.
I think we've seen this every Lilia game so far, is that one solo lane, whether it be top or mid, just hard shoves, and then level 2 just go for an invade at the enemy Raptors. It's worked out, it continues to work out in this game, and River now, 2.5 minutes into the game, going to be taking his first buff.
Yeah, gonna go ahead and get his blue buff right there. Top lane, meanwhile, though, Hanabi's getting that early shove in, of course, naturally via the volley bear. Bot lane, probably not going to see a whole lot of action here until we hit about that level 6, especially from Kaiwing as well as Wako.
Kaiwing just going on a bit of a chime climb, as it were. Gonna go grab some meeps. It's fine, it's whatever, but at the same time, the less time you spend in lane as this Bard Jhin duo, the less time you get to actually use a lot of the innate strength of these champions.
Yeah, you have that range advantage, especially from the support role. We see, though, mid lane, Kong is just making a quick appearance. Zergoth said, again, multiple times, this is a duo that can easily burst down a squishy champion like Lucian if tank is caught off guard. Is playing really far back, actually, in lane once he gets that initial shove in.
Yeah, speaking of duos though, I do want to draw your attention to the Renekton and Lee Sin here because we need to see them be proactive early. If you unlock one, you unlock the other, and here is one of them making an aggressive play.
Kongya, though, he goes over toward Krugs. Could have spotted out River, who was at about 1/3 of his health. You see, though, Kaiwing kind of suspecting something's being weird here, as your Sarah's not afraid to just go ahead and wander into the Tribe Rush. We do see Uniboy's just going to go for a quick back here. Maybe looking at a possible dive. Be a bit early, though, from AHQ to be looking for that, as Kaiwing also has the Shrines. Keep Unified nice and healthy.
Yeah, the Bard actually got nerfed on this patch when it comes to the Shrines. Not quite the same level of free health potion through 3 of those Shrines now, but still enough sustain to, as you mentioned, kind of dissuade an early gank. However, with that read of the Lee Sin's positioning, it opens up the topside jungle for yet another invade from this Lilia. The 2 pushing solo lanes also really help.
So now this kind of screams here. Are we going to actually see River try and make plays up toward that top side of the map, especially once Hanabi gets that level 6, where they can just go ahead, disable the tower, and just dive Ziv consistently?
Yeah, definitely need to see if Ziv can be pressured out on this Renekton, or if we see the Lee Sin actually making some sort of a play to try and snowball. It's not quite that empowered Renekton W into a free stun from the Elise Cocoon or the Nidalee Spear, but it's still a hefty chunk of damage, especially in these early stages, and if Kongyue doesn't build Knight's Vow Randuin's Omen on the Lee Sin.
You saw there, Sarah ended up clipping the wall for a quick sec there and went for a bit of a ride. Fortunately, Kaiwing Unified still only level 4. Can't really do a whole lot with this combo up against a tanky Nautilus. You're still waiting for an item or 2 before that Jhin actually starts to hit very hard. And I guess it's going to be whether or not, hey, to get the shove in bot lane for HQ. Looks like that's the case. And also some deep vision into the jungle of PSG. Should net them the first dragon of the game.
Yeah, Minion Dematerializer from the Nautilus being committed there just to help push out that bottom wave. The Ashe W free cast onto the wave, cool, trim it out, really nice. Jhin has a lot of single target burst and heavy trading, but when it comes to wave clear, Ashe wins out every time. As well as that, the mid lane tethering back in Uniboy's favor. Tank needs to be super careful because level 6 for Syndra means kill him at any time she wants, and that does mean AHQ priority in 2 lanes, sandwich onto the Drake in between.
You see, though, River again just spending a bunch of his time toward the top side of the map. Looking for level 6 here. Won't get it off this camp. Still needs another one here, as he's only about 1/3 left in the bar for his XP. So it doesn't look like they can actually go for maybe a play here. Hanabi does have level 6, so they could maybe, but they decide not to. Let that wave crash into the tower once again, as Hanabi just looks for a little bit of a roam into the jungle.
Yeah, looking at early itemization, pretty standard across the board. Lucian, of course, waiting for his blade, then he can go for the all-ins with Bilgewater. But now looking at Wako here, tier 2 boots rush for the Ashe. None of this BF sword into the Essence Reaver before we complete those. Instead, opting to be able to chase Unified down, and really doing a lot of work in that regard.
So we're going to see likely into that Bork build. We do see, though, Hanabi taking a little bit of damage here from Civ a little bit early. Civ's been actually able to kind of equalize that lane. It's now, though, level 6 time when we come look across the map. You got level 6 now for River, you got level 6 for Hanabi, and even Tank to an extent with the culling as well. So, we'll see whether or not River wants to strike on the map early. We've said multiple times, Lilia, especially here in the PCS and globally, when she finds success, you have to be aggressive, you have to be oppressive into the enemy jungle.
And I'm pretty eager to see how the Lilia interacts with both the top and bottom lanes, because Volibear, of course, the E, fairly conditional, the Bard Q, fairly conditional. If you get set up with a sleep, very easy to line up a free CC chain into a potential kill. But Ysera kind of reads the map, says, okay, Lilia probably fishing mid now, let's guard Uniboy just that little bit.
Do see here, though. Bot lane with Ysera showing himself mid is going to get caught out here. Exhaust comes out into the current call. First bullet hits, second one misses. Third looking to connect as Wako weighing this one out. Unified, you're taking too long, but the fourth one finds its target. It's first blood over to PSG. A nice intercept, though, comes out from Kaiwing, able to soak up the damage from Kaoyu, and he gets stunned up. In comes the damage, a flash forward, and Unified's already on fire with 2 kills in the bot lane.
Yeah, insanely clean flash from the Bard there to tank up the Q. Kaiwing gets in the way of Kongyue, saves Unified's life. Unified, we thought he waited too long with those third and fourth shots, and yet it was just in time. Wako caught out just a little bit, trying to push out this wave, trying to crash it, trying to break the freeze by himself. But look, AHQ, yes, they have a 3-man roaming death squad, but they're all at the blue buff right now. They are not here yet, and even though this flash comes through to interrupt, the bullet has already been fired, the shot is already out, and the Ashe is already in the grave.
Yeah, he saw there, was really hoping that Kaiwing was actually going to land the slow, but then kind of realized, I have to make this 4th shot to make it happen. And on top of that, you also get your Jhin 2 kills in lane. And that's not a half bad start for the bot side of PSG. Now not even having to rely on River to be their catalyst.
Definitely now looking towards PSG as having momentum because this Lilia's free farming, the lanes have naturally won at this point, and they can rotate first for this objective as you'd expect Bard teams to do. AHQ scrambling, trying contest though. Kongyue, he's got the smite and the Q for the execute. Could get this.
Oh, Kaiwing though, a beautiful 3-man Tempered Fate into the sleep from the Lilia. River looking to run rampant, and there you go. That's the 3rd kill of the game over to PSG. Civ tried to go for a flank immediately, though, got answered by Hanabi. PSG, they trade sides of the map at this point. Civ looking to get the retake here as Wako goes forward. A flash out from Hanabi, though, is able to find the kill. Now Wako, separated from his team, can't even finish off the Volibear. The 2-man Scatter the Weak combo coming out from Uniboy. Unfortunately, no. Kongyu is now caught out toward the side, gets himself to safety, but not for long, as Unified on a killing spree.
And as it turns out, Bear beats Crocodile every time. The volley opens up onto Ziv. Hanabi finds his way onto the top lane of AHQ, and the fight is not over yet.
They do not slow down here. 4th shot, armed and ready. Not going to be able to curve the bullet around the big Nautilus, but still able to pressure them out of the mid lane. And PSG, we wondered, all right, are you going to actually try and get this going? You're going to play this early game comp? Well, let's see it happen, and they have.
Only slight misfortune here is that Hanabi was the one to get the Herald. Yes, it's good that PSG actually secured the Herald, but the Volibear with the Herald, what's he going to do? He doesn't really want to group with everyone. Yeah, he can maybe selfishly get a couple of plates under his belt and pressure out the Renekton even more, but at the same time, it's a little rough. However, really good for PSG. We said Jhin, Lucian need to get ahead early. Get ahead early is the name of the game from here. Look at how beautiful this fight really does go for them. And AHQ, stop taking fights into this comp, please.
Again, all you got to do is kind of let the scale back up. Civ is also forced to flash away as Hanabi was looking to solo him out. And oh boy, map's starting to crumble here, and PSG should be also able to try and exert some pressure over toward this dragon here. We'll see whether or not HQ can at least secure vision and try and attempt this, because they were looking to start to try and stack toward dragons. May not be the case here, though.
So, actually pretty intrigued to see how HQ have managed to secure vision around here.
Oh, there goes the stopwatch coming out from Kaiwing. The Drowsy lands only onto the Nautilus. Tank is there for some damage. Bard ultimate does separate the fight, not able to actually land onto any target, but it does force AHQ to have to back off as Ysera's down pretty low.
Yeah, after a tremendous commitment on trying to pick off Kaiwing, they can't really find too much of anything, and it means the rotation onto this Drake is about as free as it comes for PSG. Kongyue maybe trying to get himself in on this. I don't know what he's doing chilling in the bush. Maybe trying to pick Kaiwing? Could we see it? Could we?
Oh, gets Kaiwing, gets the kick back. Not able to get the kill, though, as he goes for a ride. Unified is also nearby and can't finish off that pesky Bard, as Kaiwing will live another day.
The exhaust was kind of clutch, but also Unified was like, nah, you don't need the heal. You're fine. Just get out of there. Yeah, Kaiwing. Genuinely very happy with how the Bard has been just very, very active. Relative to the first game, where while he did play fine, he was largely invisible on one of his signature playmakers, first Thresh loss of the summer split, and yet here on the champion, we've not really seen too many games from him on, but when he does play it, he does show up.
It's not half bad. The one bonus you could say, at least for AHQ, is at least the mid lane, it looks like Uniboy is doing decently all right into this Lucian matchup. Hasn't been able to really do much on the map, but that could change right here as River's coming on by. Doesn't have the sleep available, but Culling will do enough damage. River's the one to secure the kill, and even with the unleashed power, Tank doesn't go down, and oh boy, map's starting to crumble here for AHQ.
Yeah, you don't need the temporary sleep when you can just put him permanently to sleep here. Good kill pickup from the AHQ mid-jungle duo. Really, really clean execution there. And Hanabi trying to pressure out Ziv as much as possible. I believe he popped the Herald already. It was not top, so I do wonder where it was. Did it get interrupted? Oh, okay.
Threw it down. Yep. He kind of just walked by mid, threw it down, and was pretty happy. Meanwhile, we see a Seed go for a trip. Oh, it does catch out Wako, but no one's nearby.
Ooh, sleep. No sleep. Oh, Lily has a grump. I see.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think they're actually going to go for this play. But nonetheless, it's 7-1. A much better early game than what we saw from PSG previously. The big thing, though, is this comp does require them to continue up this pace. Lilia needs to be continually aggressive to try and force out your jungle opponent. HQ, though, not hesitating here, trying to get some deep vision to try and spot out River on a rotation.
Yeah, now looking at Lucian with the Blade of the Rune King, it means that Tank actually has a fairly hefty amount of kill pressure. Looking back at AHQ though, Renekton already out of this early game, very much in a difficult position from here on out, past his peak. Lee Sin, maybe probably for the best that he should be going for the similar tank build as last game, but of course Black Cleaver is probably the way to go, given the fact his carries are who they are.
You do see as River again just gets spotted out there. A nice hawk shot. Kanya, though, and the rest of the team coming on down. Uniboy actually is drowsy if he wants to actually pop to sleep, decides not to. They don't actually know if Uniboy's over toward the side. Now see the Scour of the Week. Kind of realize, hey, this ain't too good. Double sleep gonna come down. Do they actually pull the trigger? There is the Tempered Fate. Kern call ready, but in comes the teleport now from Hanabi to rejoin in onto the fight. Ashero's gonna land. Unfortunately, though, not gonna be able to save Ysera as he gets taken on down. River finds himself another kill. A little bit of a troll set up there from the bot side of PSG, but in the end, they are still able to find a victim.
Yeah, a bit of a clumsy execution from the side of AHQ, trying to salvage that play, look for a counter-engage around those Krugs, but can't convert onto anything. Redeeming factor though is that Ziv gets time alone to make a convincing case for this tower, but can he get it before mid lane tier 1? Signs point to no. PSG will crack this map open and will be able to rotate just that little bit more reliably.
Now, we'll take a look back here as River does actually find the seed onto two members, and we did mention a little bit of a miscommunication there coming out from Kaiwing and the rest of the squad, but still, in the end, not end of the world, they find themselves a kill.
And because Kongyue booked it out of there, the stun actually connected onto Ysera and the wall. Very unfortunate, but hey, it's life at this point. AHQ, they have the pick comp, and yet they are the ones getting picked.
And with that too, that's now second Rift Herald for PSG. Can use that if they want to toward the top or bot, as they've already taken mid lane tower. So that's allowed Tank to be able to be a little bit more free. Uniboy's kind of stuck into his lane. Do have to note though for AHQ, you do still have tower, still have tools like you mentioned to go for some of these picks. You have Ash Arrow, you have this Nautilus that could go for her own. It's kind of the question now is what is your plan for AHQ to try and turn things around and slow down PSG?
So at this point, just scale up on Syndra Ashe, get to the mid to late game, know that Lucian plus Jhin, if they ever move in range to actually contest the Ashe's DPS, they're in range to just get knocked down completely by the Syndra. Renekton at this point, meat shield, Lee Sin, meat shield, Nautilus was never anything but that. And that does put a lot of pressure on the carries from AHQ to shore up their gameplay relative to the first 10 minutes of this one, because it was because the bot lane of the map faltered so heavily that Lee Sin had to dictate all of his attention down there, leaving the Renekton on an island during his most devastating part of the game.
You see River is the one that goes ahead and actually gets himself to safety there with a quick flash. Meanwhile, Ziv also getting themselves into choke point. 2 members with the Tempered Fate, and now AHQ have to try and take back a fight. Shut down, though, as River gets taken on down. AHQ with a man advantage. Ziv, though, still trying to lead the charge. Able to get some health back, but still not enough damage. You saw a nice Scour of the Week. A re-engage comes out from Ysera, but instantly gets popped by the force shot of Unified, and it's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, current state of the Ashe means that AHQ's teamfights are dictated by the cooldowns of the Syndra. Oh!
Kongye trying to get super fancy, ended up killing Wako though in the process, still gets the shutdown. But a bit of a messy play coming out there as it looks like the miscommunication was showing here on the side of AHQ. Hanabi now cut out toward the side, does have Deadman's though alongside his Q, will get himself to safety with the extra move speed.
Yeah, Uniboy relatively immobile on the Syndra, of course, trying to frantically get in the fight. Can't chase down any real member of PSG, and though this Syndra showed up huge at the start of it, essentially just playing the wait for cooldowns kind of game. Really, really cool, clean outplay by AHQ to actually knock down the Lilia at the start of it, but they use so much. They use the arrow, the depth charge, and the unleash power, 3 very, very strong ults, just to kill the enemy jungler. And as a result of that, when the ensuing fight happens, what can they do?
And there off the tail end here, you saw Kongye. He really wanted to make this play happen onto Unified, and fancy. Unfortunately though, Wako doesn't really have his ultimate to connect. They still are able to at least finish off the kill. They get themselves a nice shutdown. Unified though getting himself his 5th kill, and also rushing into the Storm Razor with the next Zeal item coming shortly. Unified's going to start hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, so this is the big crit Jhin. Usually you see it into armor stacking champs. Renekton, the only real champion that's going to itemize for that, besides maybe the Nautilus with a little bit more of his own. But still, yeah, cool. You shred through the front line that, as we said, are the only things stopping you from knocking down the Ashe and Syndra. And it does mean that PSG's carries are now in a fantastic position to actually take the fight to AHQ now.
You saw there, Seed goes through, Tank getting hyper-aggressive, in comes that Tempered Fate, Kaiwing roaming on over, not able to find the stun though, Culling's going to be used by Tank, Arrow swings by, there'll be a lot of ultimates burned, but no results on either side.
Kaiwing so clean so far this game, but not enough to hammer home a pick onto the mid laner of HQ. However, PSG really happy with the pressure they're exerting. There's no neutral objective for them to take on the map right now, because you don't really want a 20-minute Baron when the enemy team has a pick comp. And as a result of that, they're just happy getting big CDs before this next Drake does spawn.
And with that, looks like it'll just be a quick little reset here as the vision is down for PSG. Ysera, though, does spot out Kaiwing, so he's just going to back off here. And looks like for now, HQ are just going to try and get pressure where they can. Civ has gone down into the bot lane, at least to soak up the wave. Do start to see, though, your second items starting to be built after our first. 2 Black Cleavers on the side of AHQ on the top side of the map. You also have Uniboy looking toward his next item. And the Ashe, like we mentioned already, going into that Essence Reaver build.
Yeah, I imagine that the Ashe will just look towards the Runans as a second item, Infedge as a third. It means Wako not dealing any kind of damage for the foreseeable future. PSG, their carries are in no position to fight right now, unless Uniboy converts onto one big pick. And again, we're seeing the Syndra pick up a needlessly large rod and then just not build anything from it quite yet. Here's the engage.
Current call comes out. Kaiwing still has his ultimate, but they decide against it, as River did spot out Uniboy with a seed, but kind of had an idea that Kongye was nearby. So just going to try and force them back out of their own jungle. Kongye actually is going to get sleeped here, just trying to actually force something out as Kaiwing gets cut out towards the side. Arrow completely misses from Wako, and both members just get deleted. Wako caught out by the Tempered Fate. It's a double kill for Unified, now 7-1-3 on the Jhin. Should be a quick and clean Baron for the side of PSG. Double AD carry comp.
Kongyue's still alive, Kongyue's still got smite, but how does he find backline access? Lee Sin literally blind when it comes to this pit right now.
We'll see here, though. 3,000 health does have that control ward going down, but the rest of PSG, they just come on over and take him out here, say thank you very much. And Baron, even though it went down to 1,300, it's still going to get secured by PSG. Now 15-3 on the scoreboard, a 5,000 gold lead, and firm control of the second game of the series.
Yeah, credit to Kongyue for the attempt. You see the immediate engage from PSG onto the enemy jungler, and as the rest of the team tried to play damage control, there's the flash off of the Syndra that we mentioned. Kaiwing got top, and there is just every member of AHQ that can't move maybe as quickly as they'd like to, just get systematically picked off.
And there you saw Kongyue try to make that hero play. Fortunately, gets spot out before he can do anything else. And like that too, you start to see the map starting to crumble around AHQ's Honda. He's able to finally take down his first tier tower. And also the fact that you have an 8-1-3 Jhin on the map now. That is a very disgusting scoreline for Unified this game.
So I mentioned that Ashe's itemization means she doesn't deal damage till like 3 items, 4 items. Volibear's itemization means Ashe doesn't deal damage till any point of the game at this rate. Dead Man's Plate, Ninja Tabi, Sunfire Cape, and an engage to boot.
Kaiwing might get caught out himself, does have Tempered Fate, who wants to try and go for a re-engage. Uniboy has to get himself back to safety. Current call going to be used onto Wako, as that's going to be the second, third bullet. Fourth bullet not going to connect, and over toward the side. Unleash power. Meanwhile, though, Tank is able to take down Ysera as the mid lane push continues for PSG. Kongyu trying
Zib
to
on the
find
flank.
the kill. Civ popped the Dominus already, now going to show himself. River tries to get himself back to safety, ends up popping the sleep, able to get himself back. Kongyu can't finish off the kill because he gets slipped on the same frame he connected, and both members of AHQ cannot find the deer in the jungle.
And while all of this party is happening, PSG push up the mid, reset, and now look to kill Uniboy. Once he dies, you can take the base, you can take the game. PSG firmly in the lead now.
He saw mid lane getting pushed in now. Hanabi still powering through. Scare of the week should deny him. Still going underneath the tower. Hanabi wants this damn kill. He's got to get soloed. Gets the shielding. But meanwhile, mid, they're able to secure themselves the inhibitor tower as well as the next dragon. Let's take a look back to how things panned out.
I like how it's like, after this play, PSG firmly in the lead now. It's 19 kills to 3. I have no idea where that came from. Just kind of materialized over the course of the past 20 minutes. And yet PSG are living for it. Insane amount of pressure being sent out here. Honestly, it's not terrible for HQ that they're kind of stagnating a Baron push by forcing a crazy fight that almost looks like it turns out in their favor, trying to find a pick with the pick comp. Nice that they're not just rolling over and dying to the superior 5v5, but they try and force the picks when they don't have prio. They're being pushed on every avenue, and suddenly this game is way out of control. I say suddenly, actually, it's been out of control for the past 15 minutes. AHQ, what are you doing? Try and scale, please. It's not gonna happen.
And there you are now. 4 minutes on to the next dragon. Baron not going to be available for about another 2. As PSG, a 5,000 Baron power play, a 9,000 gold lead, 19-3. We've seen players pretty much turn around what was an ugly game 1. Have come to play. Kongyu trying to go for a kick. Not going to happen, though. Finally gets it off the end there as River's going to get punted off back. Still gets the sleep off, though, and 3 members lined up and ready for this current call. In comes Hanabi. It's a double kill for Unified. A triple on the 3rd shot. And like that, PSG should be able to close out the game.
Jin's least favorite number is 3, and yet PSG's most favorite is 23. So many kills in pocket. 23 kills in 26 minutes. What is that? That is disgusting as PSG push out mid, looking to push out top. Not going to end the game quite yet because we're still so early. The death timers are not quite game ending, and yet the push cannot relent.
One of the slowest inhibitor takes you're going to see out of this team. Unified, though, takes the 2nd tier tower, and like I mentioned, it just takes one more, again, 2 or 3 members from AHQ getting caught out, and this game should be over. We'll take a look back as they're the ones to try and force this onto River.
Yeah. Hanabi, get in the back line. Don't know, he's doing a good job. He's peeling Kongyue off of his carries because his carries are quite big.
Unified's been nasty with this Jhin, by the way. This is a step-up performance compared to what we saw back in Game 1. And likewise, also Kaiwing had a decent Thresh game with some good death sentences, but his Bard has been on another level.
Yeah, his Bard has been fantastic this game. And you know Unified's going to get MVP. I was going to say if PSG win this, but you know when PSG win this. But Kaiwing did a lot of work on this Bard. Part of it, though, was AHQ's bot lane being either invisible or just lackluster. And suddenly we're seeing this series be flipped on its head, about to be reset into a best of 3.
Oh, Kaiwing gets a little bit caught out there. In comes Hanabi, though, onto that flank, and culling damage from afar, forcing AHQ to have to back off. And Ysera, he'll get caught out. Another 2-man tempered fate. Waco's going to get put to sleep in the ground once more. Double kill for Tank. Curtain call underneath the fountain. They're locked into sleep right before their salvation. And AHQ, they have to watch their base go to crumbles as PSG turn up the heat. 26-4 in bloodshed. They are able to take the victory over AHQ and tie up the series 1-1 after just stunning AHQ and making a case that this is again our spring champion team looking to make their way through the upper bracket.
And we said these teams were evenly matched, top of the table worthy candidates here. And what we didn't expect was that evenly matched meant they'd take turns chain inting. A very intriguing game coming through from AHQ. After a fairly dominant game 1, just everything fell apart that time around.
I think overall, I don't think this is what we expected out of our game 2. Zaragoth, especially. We saw PSG early game 1. It felt rather lackluster. We felt this team was kind of dead in the water. Bing, bada, boom, they change up the draft, and then they turn up the heat, and AHQ are completely taken off guard.
I think if you can say that someone's here ready to play the game, is both Unified and Kaiwing. This game, game 1 they had to play against a really oppressive bot lane that just doesn't that you couldn't do much against. This game, they have a matchup in which they can punish, and they punish really hard. I think Kaiwing's Bard was extremely on point. But Jhin, while sometimes missing a few shots, overall was really good. And yeah, I think AHQ bot lane was really hard outclassed in this game, and it kind of snowballed the pressure to the rest of the map, because what do you do when your bot lane is just, almost feeding, honestly?
It doesn't look all that good. Yeah, there's a lot of times where we're kind of like wondering, Waco, his positioning, it just looks super weird. Like, I'll give him the fact he was able to at least have a CS lead somehow out of lane phase again, even though he got killed like 3 times. But it doesn't translate well if you're caught out of position, and especially in around some of those Baron fights into the jungle, it just did not look pretty.
No, absolutely. And actually, I do want to touch on some individual matchups, because I believe Zergoth said stop going for counter picks because they haven't really worked out. Instead, just pick things that complement your composition. But speaking of compositions, this Volibear top actually did surprisingly fine. Zergoth, do you have any strong thoughts about it?
I think the Volibear top worked really well in countering the strategy that ASU was going for, in which they picked a Renekton. Don't really play around it, play like Neutralizer, because the Volibear is really oppressive if you don't punish it early game. It has permanent priority in its lane, it has really strong early game damage despite its items, and overall it was a really good pick stylistically into what AHQ was doing.
I think, though, overall, you got to commend the fact that we were able to see a lot more life out of PSG as a whole. Again, grouping up very early, knowing that they were at their power spikes and able to take these fights with the kids that they had on their side. It was a good change of pace, and I think also a good boost there for Big Fafa, because we've always kind of questioned some of PSG's drafting. What would be the case? MVP, though, we were wondering.
I told you that it was gonna be. I told you that. I heard Unified MVP and I was sitting in my head, no, there's no way.
I said I wanted Kaiwing to get it, but they usually go to Unified, even when Kaiwing does,
Alright. Because Kaiwing was the obvious MVP for me.
Yeah, Kaiwing able to set up plays. Trust me, our production, they're a little bit biased when it comes to KDAs, but yeah, that Bard, it's hard to ignore, and Kaiwing, alongside the rest of the team, able to take home the victory in Game 2, and that now sets us up for Game 3. Like, Zergoth, what do you want to see change out of AHQ this time around?
I want to see higher priority on Gangplank. I think with the way this series is going, it's such a heavy focus on bot lane and what's happening in bot lane that the GP can influence it. And I think Sif is playing well mechanically, but they're not looking to pressure his lane. So in that sense, I want to see a GP so he can farm it out and help bot lane in different ways than just the regular TP. Other than that, I don't want to see counter picks anymore on support from Ysera, but I want to see safe laning phases and enable Uniboy and Kongyu to be able to play their game, because this game they had to constantly cover, constantly look at the rest of the map, and they weren't able to play to their own win conditions. So I want to see more scaling and safety on the side lanes, and I want to see them be more proactive in mid jungle like they were in game 1.
All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, though, it's Game 3, series tied 1-1 between AHQ and PSG.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.